Oh, I need to clean my glasses. Where's our countdown this week?
It's coming.
Oh. It's like we've been demoted. No countdown.
We didn't even get a countdown. Come
we
on.
Didn't get a countdown. No, we're just here.
We're just live? No countdown?
No countdown. I wasn't ready.
We got doged. Hey guys, happy Friday. It's The Last Word, brought to you by Chrisman Commentary as always. KP is on the run, still in Texas, right, KP?
Austin, Texas, just literally wrapped up Strathmore Peer Group Review. It was a great event, diving into the data.
Awesome. We'll dive in there a little bit. Christy's at home base, also in Austin, coincidentally.
I crashed KP's party last night.
Awesome. And Courtney and I are representing the Mitten State, the Michigan mortgage mafia here. Guys, we got lots. Yeah, I'm somewhere over here. There's lots to cover, right? We could probably extend this discussion past our allotted 30 minutes, but let's dive right in. Big news, right? We saw early midweek the boards of both Fannie and Freddie shaken up quite a bit, and then yesterday news out of Freddie Mac that some executive leadership was relieved of their duties, so to speak. It's not over, right? There's much more going on. Just heard there was an all hands at Fannie Mae. People are being told they're expected to be back in the office as early as next week. I've got some thoughts on where this thing is shaken out, but let's go round robin real quick. Christy, we'll start with you and just get your immediate reaction.
Well, it's really interesting when you think about shaking up the board. So let's just start at the top of the house. Generally speaking, to get on a board, it's a pretty extensive process, lots of interviews, lots of, background checks, and you're looking for specific pieces to fill, right? Specific, I don't want to say educational requirements, but experiences, and you're looking to bring something to the team, and to summarily dismiss all those folks, then have two folks join, then one resign immediately the next day. That's a lot of shakeup at an organization. And without having a conversation around what holes are you trying to fill? What are you trying to do? That can create a lot of uncertainty in the market. And my biggest concern and takeaway from all this is that we're creating some uncertainty that is going to trickle down straight to the consumers.
Courtney, I'm going to go round robin on my little screen here.
I think that I will just salt and pepper what my friend Christy said. And I would say maybe unnecessary uncertainty, because not only is it uncertain, but I mean, if you look at the qualifications of the human that was on the board and off the board within a day, not necessarily a housing person. We haven't heard a lot about housing policy from the administration in whole, just about the fatness, not PHAT, of governmental entities. Although that might be a funner way to frame it, guys. Now that we're in charge of the Kennedy Center too, like arts and culture and housing at the same time. I feel like, I think that it is always good to evaluate and evolve. And evaluate and evolve and evaluate and evolve. Is this the best thing that we, for this thing and that thing and that thing? And I think that the positive message from a lot of what we've seen in the last, I guess it's now 10 weeks, is we're evaluating and we're evolving, but it would be nice to know more about the why. It would be nice, for there to be credentials beyond awesome hacker from Kentucky placed on Fannie Mae board for a day. I think that I would add the word unnecessary. I think that ultimately, how does this impact the consumer at the end? Are we putting our energy in the right place? And then from a total housing market and what direction does this mean Fannie and Freddie will go? I think KP probably has some a good hitter in that regard. So I'll leave it to him.
How's my audio?
Good.
Am I good?
Yeah.
I had to move. There was someone in my room that was talking. No comment. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'll be honest. Like obviously I love the GSEs. I mean, as a lender, we just love what they've done. When people ask what was the best tech innovation in the last decade, I still say, when Fannie and Freddie created day one certainty and AIM. I mean, that has helped us get closer to borrower permissible data and data driven everything, which is what we all want, right? And so, but I don't like from a business standpoint, I don't know. I don't know how to operate. I don't know who does what. I don't know their staffing levels. I don't know any of that. But so what I'll just do is kind of zoom out. I mean, if this administration wants to appoint Bill Pulte as FHFA, who wants to work together with Scott Bessent and the administration to make the GSEs private, I mean, there's going to be a lot of meetings. There's going to be a lot of uncertainty. Just that topic alone is uncertain. I don't even know if it even passed this year. The Mortgage Banker Association was just here with us, and they're saying they don't think it's going to pass this year. So this seems like some logical steps towards doing some planning to kind of go down that path. That's about all I can really say at this point.
Well, there was also an article that talked about whether or not the GSEs would be part of the sovereign wealth fund if that was actually created. So I think that adds a whole other layer of complexity to this conversation. So I'll just throw that in there before Brian gives us his 2 cents.
No, I was going to reference that too, because right before we went live, I was just wrapping up reading through that. And yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody that's pretty well connected in the industry. And, it was one of those, 30-minute just spitballing back and forth. And, where we were going was, are we on a path where Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie, HUD, FHFA, HFA, those guys, that 4-letter word gets collapsed into one entity, right? And, is that what are we seeing some of that work getting done by, the folks that were, let go at Freddie Mac, and who knows what's going to happen at the other shop here. But I'm just wondering, if you guys think that's even a feasible possibility where we just collapse everything into one entity.
2 questions, right? Can you and should you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's some charter stuff that would require like a lot of legal wranglings and shakeup. So I'm not privy. It's like saying you can't just get rid of the CFPB. It would require an act of Congress. So I mean, they can take them private. I don't know. I mean, if they go private, yeah. I mean, maybe if a private entity bought them both, and then consolidate. I don't know. I obviously that it's a massive mortgage market, and they both serve incredible functions. And so, I'm just got my popcorn ready. I don't know. I got nothing here. I don't like the idea of taking them into out of conservatorship. I like the explicit written guarantee in writing, so mortgage-backed securities trade at a better price because you have the full faith and credit of the U.S. government, which, by the way, is not as high as a rating as Microsoft and Johnson & Johnson, 2 companies that have a higher credit rating than our government. But having said that, I don't want them to be released, but I'm not in control here, so we'll see.
I mean, I think that if we're talking about unnecessary fat, I think that the existence of this volume of entities with the ability to rule make individually, and I would say enforce their rulemaking individually, I think that there could be a lot of streamlining there, Brian, even if it was 2, right? With 2 different missions, one for newer, lower income homeowners and one for the average American consumer, however you want to frame that, someone who still needs a mortgage, who's not buying, real estate with cash. Even if we consolidated to 2, I think that there's a lot of noise and funk that could be removed from the process, from an audit perspective, from a rules perspective, from a technology and innovation perspective. It would permit us to do better in those spaces instead of playing whack-a-mole from a servicing perspective to keep up with this new rule or that new rule from an underwriting or a a consumer credit DTI calculations, all over the place. I think that there could be a more consistent, efficient, fair view for the consumer. And also, does a consumer really know if they are the difference between, if they had an option between a HUD loan and a GSE loan, which one that they would take? I don't know that they'd really know that, or the benefits to them if they were to go delinquent, at a time later in time. And I think that, like, if we can carve out something positive that we could shimmy shake out of those entities to make things more efficient. I'm really like hitting it with all the words today.
Oh man,
we got way too many oldies.
That
Be an Austin
shimmy shake off
the
top.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, if anybody wants to hire me for that project, I would do that project. I would make it easier for the mortgage community from a policy and technology perspective, because they're so intertwined, as we know. We could save a lot of money in a lot of different places.
I just want them to do bank statement programs. I mean, there's no reason not to. You get 12 to 24 months of data straight from the source. I mean, the ultimate visibility. You don't have to worry about people running day one certainty or AIM, because the only way to do it is to actually, you could say, hey, we'll do this program. You have to run day one certainty and AIM. Now you have a way to force the behavior. And I would love for us to get off the expensive credit report trend that we're on. Go to raw trade line data and find a way to run DU and LP less expensively. Like, to me, those are, we're spending millions and millions of dollars. Like, not to get emotionally charged here, but I know a lot of owners of lenders who are like, that's my effing money, right? Yeah. And so I don't want to spend it on an algorithm that costs me God knows how much. And you pass it on to consumers, but there's a lot of fallout. So anyway, those are my big initiatives. I don't care if Fannie has to be private or not to do that. I think we should just do it. That's what the industry wants. And so in the meantime, the market's very healthy. I'll throw in a little tidbit. We're talking about the CBO, and they do all this scoring for all this stuff. They don't give Fannie really any credit for like all these billions of dollars that they make. They literally, we see the headlines, like $6 billion in made net in 3 months. The entire entity is given like a $5 billion valuation or a $5 billion expense. So with a $7 trillion budget and a $2 trillion deficit, like, there's not going to be any difference there. I would think, as an argument from a budget or expense or even cash perspective, because the way our scoring works with our government, the CBO, they give them, like, nothing. And we all know how important they are. So
you bring up a lot of good points.
Same topic, but maybe, Christy, hopefully this dovetails into what you're going to mention. But I want to make sure we call out a letter that the Community Home Lenders of America and to Bill Pulte, Director Pulte, this week, and so it was outlining what they called the urgent priorities for the GSEs, and I just bulleted them down. I did a post this morning, but a couple of the bullet points: preserve the affordable mission of the GSEs. So Courtney, there's a key component, right? So maintain support for condos, investor loans, second homes. Enforce G-fee parity and a robust cash window, ensuring that small and mid-size IMBs have equal access to sell loans competitively. Stop punishing lenders for technical defects. So support the transition from repurchase demands to in-dem options for performing loans. This is for UKP. Push back on credit reporting monopolies. FICO's 700% fee hike is unsustainable. Let's introduce true competition, lower costs for lenders and borrowers. Recognize the real value of investor and second home loans. These aren't just for the wealthy. They're tools for wealth building, affordable rentals, and broader homeownership access. Avoid transferring risk to banks. Shrinking the GSE footprint could force risky portfolio lending, increasing systemic vulnerability. And then they referenced CSFB, right? We all remember Signature Bank. And then, lastly, they kind of closed it out. This letter is really a reminder that protecting access to the secondary market for all lenders isn't just fair, but it's fundamental to a stable, competitive, and inclusive housing system. So kudos to Taylor and Scott at CHLA and all the members of CHLA for getting that out in a, I think the letter was delivered before the news that started to hit, over the last 48 hours. But, I want to make sure we call that letter out. And if you're watching, listening, and you haven't seen it yet, hit me with a DM. I'll send you a link. Otherwise, if you go to my LinkedIn, you'll see a post I did this morning on that.
So those are great points, and it does encompass some of what I was going to say. Though, whenever you have an organization, we put things together, and CHLA and Taylor and Scott really do a great job. So if you're not familiar with the organization, you should get to know them and do it. But I think that the one thing I would really disagree with them on is whether or not the GSEs should preserve the mission of, home affordability and low to moderate income. Because what you have is them competing against Jenny, and which one gets picked off, which one gets the cream of the crop. And from a risk standpoint, since the government's taking both of those risks, it feels like there should be some division there. And not saying that the agencies, if there's one GSE or two or however it's structured, shouldn't have some responsibility there, but should we be more directing that into one area so that it's done more uniformly? We can innovate better in those cases instead of having them all. Today, I feel like they all compete for the same borrower, and you're not really seeing the kind of innovation because they're all focused on the one type of low to moderate income borrower instead of really thinking about ways we can delve into that space. That's an area I would disagree with CHLA. I agree around the innovation that we need to have, the getting rid of the monopolies and rooting out some of that cost that doesn't actually benefit the consumer. Because in a lot of cases, as KP's talking about the money that we're spending, some of that gets passed on to the consumer, but not all. And in a lot of cases, it's the consumer that's getting their credit report pulled 3, 4, 5 times because they're going to different lenders and we're all paying the same cost for the same thing. So even if we just shared and had the ability for to be pulled at the GSE level, and then that information shared, or some other, there's lots of different ideas that we could do, but we've got to pull some of that cost out of the system. So spot on in the CHLA letter, these are topics that we have to address.
Now, just to clarify, was that a CHLA letter to Pulte? This is what they want, or this is what Bill Pulte said he's going to do?
No, that's the CHLA letter to Bill Pulte.
Yeah.
So I'll just to have fun and have a good conversation, start some sparks here. So Christy, what would you want Fannie and Freddie to not say we want affordable lending? Like, hey, we don't want to do affordable housing. Like, it's such a bad message. You know what I mean? Like, they have to say.
No, I don't want them to say that. But what I want is for the scorecard not to be as heavily weighted and for us to see the competition between the agencies. So if I'm sitting in, the administration's chair, and I have some magic fairy dust and levers that I can pull, I would want to see more innovation in that space because we know that that's the key to generational wealth. It's the key to helping people be able to buy that second home or those investment properties that mean that they can retire. I mean, most investors are mom and pop. It's not the large companies that are buying up chunks and chunks of America. Not that they don't own a number of homes, but they don't have the market share that sometimes the media would have you think that they do. So how can we help separate some of that? And again, not that they don't have to focus on it, but it doesn't have to be such a domineering part of the scorecard.
I think
Courtney's on mute laughing.
Yeah.
I'm finding joy in your lack of satisfaction and the ability to spark joy in that moment. I can't say that I kind of agree with you, Christy. I think that maybe 2 is good and maybe 2 in separate places is good. But at the end of the day, particularly in the servicing space on the Ginnie Mae side, there's not a huge difference between an FHA, USDA, and VA loan outside of who they're ultimately catering to. So maybe it is a special circumstances entity. Heck, maybe special income could be in the special circumstances entity over here, and we could make this side of the house on the GSE side super efficient. I don't know. I think it would hard to be one. Two makes sense. I don't know. What can I say that will make Kevin get excited again?
Well, I mean, I like the list that CHLA put out, and if it's a weighting and a scoring that you want less of, the scoring for affordable housing on the GSEs because we want to steer it over to Ginny loans. Okay, I mean, whatever, as long as the bars get served, it's all good, right? But there's some down payment assistance programs and down payment actual money that Fannie and Freddie subsidize. They've got their low to moderate AMI income levels and programs. They have a cash flow program for AMI borrowers. They have a lot of stuff they do in affordable lending. I don't know the numbers. I don't know the totals. I don't know, I just know that, like, unless they're going to go to, 100% like on a VA or USDA loan, or, which of course you can get a gift in Fannie, Freddie, just like you can with FHA. So, I mean, the guidelines are there, but from a credit perspective, anything below 620, it's all going to Ginny. Right. And so that is, I don't have like a chart that shows affordable lending loans broken out by credit bucket or program. It'd be some great data for us to present if we, come on, Brian, get your shit together, man. Actually, CHLA, get your shit together. You put the post. Yeah. Where's the data? Dude, Taylor's like, he's going after it now. Taylor Scott. But I mean, I think there's a much bigger thing at play here with Fannie and Freddie. I think it is a reorg. It is a mission that is not necessarily those things that just got put on there. I think that's getting the CHLA is obviously trying to get some points out there, but I mean, that's getting the cart before the horse. Like, do we have a horse? Do we have two horses? Yeah. Do we have a horse at all? Are they going to a private barn and getting off the government city run barn? Where are they going? And so I think those are much bigger things. And by the way, there's a great comment down below that said it might take 5 to 6 years. I don't see it taking that long if there's absolute motivation. It probably won't get done this year, but man, I've been so surprised in just 2 months in this new administration. A lot of stuff has happened pretty fast.
We'll give Alan's quote some love so folks can see it if they didn't see it in the comments. Thanks, Alan. And Alan's on almost every week. He's a long-time listener, long-time viewer. So thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, good comment. Good comment there. What's the next topic?
Well, if we can, KP, you were. I know you guys sign off on all these conversations you have when you go to these Stratmore groups. Back in the day, I used to have the pleasure of participating. But what's the kind of, if you could sum up the consensus, what's what the group is thinking about, current state, kind of the industry, what's coming down the pipe. What would you share with the group that you can share without getting slapped on the wrist or worse?
Sure. No, of course. And so Marina Walsh, she's here from the NBA, and Mike Fratantoni's here, and then Garth Graham and their whole team from Stratmore, they're all here. And so it's a nice collaborative event. We all submit data as lenders. We've got some builders, we have some servicers. And this is all non-banks that are here. And there's some great companies here. I mean, just fantastic companies, big companies. And so we have this whole deck. It's like 80 pages. Plus there's another soft slide. And anyway, just going through it, you're looking at trends, you're looking at profitability, you're looking at what's your recapture strategy, how servicing costs to service. I mean, the data is very, very granular. And we talk about things that we're all dealing with. And it's super deep dive into the data of our lenders where we're sharing like our margins and our full-time employee, like our head count, our strategy, our channel mix. I mean, it's pretty good stuff. So if you're a lender out there and you're listening, I definitely implore you to jump in the peer group review. They do a couple meetings a year. And I would just say it's interesting coming off the back of the Mortgage Collaborative where it's, a lot of mostly retail only IMBs that, probably not going to, participate in MBA PGR. It's quite expensive to do this, if you're a smaller IMB. And so those closed door sessions are like, hey, what tech are you using? What are you guys working on? What's your initiatives? How about this vendor? What do you think about that vendor? You know that guy Brian View from FinLocker? Yeah, he's a stud. Love that guy. Yeah, me too. And so it's a different vibe of collaboration, and it's a great one. So it was nice to get these back to back. Going home tonight, catch flag football. I'm there for a couple of days, then Zactus Advisory Board next week, and then I turn around for a week, and then I go to DC with the Mortgage Banker Association. Texas Mortgage Banker Association is also there. Broker Action Coalition is there, and it's all these legislative advocacy, sessions and weeks. So never a dull moment.
So, hey, KP, I think it might be important to share with the team just some of the kind of the rules around the Strathmore MBA peer group roundtable, so that folks know.
You do it. You used to work for them.
I feel like I'm putting on my compliance hat, and because I feel like that's something that we should share. Like, the data is shared anonymously. You don't know that it's this company or that company. You're looking at an anonymized deck, and there are some rules, because we do. As part of doing that, and I have done that group for years, I think it's one of the most highly valuable things that we do, even though it is a lot of work, because you get some benchmarking tools, and you have the ability to look at yourself. And if you think that you're great and awesome, and then you look at those benchmarking tools and you're like, oh, holy cow, I'm not doing as good as I think I am. So it's wonderful to have that data, and you will see the MBA share some of it in their articles. Marina and Mike, when they talk, the only way to get the data is to be a part of it. But again, it is anonymized. You are looking at different companies, different strategies. You have conversations, and there's always somebody in the room making sure that we're not violating the Sherman Antitrust Act. So I just think folks should know that there are some parameters around it. It's not just this thing that violates the law.
Come on, Courtney, get CMG in there. Get CMG in there and come sit in this room. There's a lot of CFOs here and heads of servicing. I
love a good math nerd. I love a good mortgage math nerd too. They're kind of some of my favorite. It looks like Joseph in the chat is also a mortgage math nerd, and
yeah, he wrote a book.
I think it's but I think it's an important point. You strategically covered my face, which actually makes me happy because I need a Botox update. I think that there's a lot of money that has gone to different places within the federal government, or was supposed to go to different places, including housing authorities, and there's pockets from the federal government, not just in HERA, not just from HERA. There were COVID dollars. There's money all over the place in all of these programs and in all of these legacy programs. And it is something, I think it's an important question that Washington should be asking. Where is that money? Was it disposed of entirely? If it's not, what was its original purpose? And can we reallocate it for those purposes? Because if you think about COVID relief dollars, which have still not been distributed by the states, under their individual programs, question mark there, should we use that money for something else if we are in the crisis that we are saying that we are in? I think it's a good combo platter, math nerd, regulatory nerd shout out. So good job, Joseph.
Joe Delene's another loyal weekly viewer, listener to the show. Awesome having you, Joe. Thanks so much. And of course, Paul Lucido is in there as well, always with us.
Our CMO.
So guys, we got a minute and a half left. Just real quick, round robin. What are you looking forward to next week? Christy, we'll start with you.
Well, I will just say that today is my birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
I know. So I am really looking forward to parting from the office maybe an hour or two early, and opening a really nice bottle of wine. And then, then I'll start to deal with what's up and coming for next week. I do hope that as we approach the spring conference season, that Texas MBA advocacy is next week, Monday and Tuesday. If you're in the state of Texas, and if you haven't already signed up, come and join us. We've got MBA advocacy. These things really matter. And when you see the pace of change that we're seeing, we didn't even get a chance. There's so much going on. We didn't even get a chance to talk about the executive order to reduce the footprint for the Treasury CDFI, that FHA rescinded borrowers' right to initiate ROVs. There's a lot of other things happening that we're not having a chance to talk about. And now is the time to be involved in advocacy. Pick your favorite group. pick your favorite team, but get involved and make sure that your voice is heard. Join MA, join MORPAC, join all the things, join CHLA, really get out there and do something. So I'm looking forward to that next week, right after my fancy bottle of wine tonight.
Love it. Courtney.
Short form, I am going to be a math nerd next week because I thoroughly believe that this thing in the marketplace that's called subservicing is dead. I have spent months poring over invoices in this space, and I really understand each of the individual models that we have out there. Kevin, maybe you're right. Maybe I should be at the math nerd table on this one. And I think that there's a better way to do servicing where the most highly regulated, important, longest relationship with your consumer is not commoditized down to how many bucks an hour for this loan or whatnot. And I'm really, that's one of our big goals for 2025 is to talk about that and figure out the right model, particularly for industrious lenders that care about their brand, because I know you don't want to send your loans to Mr. Cooper. And so, that's what I'm digging into this week. And happy birthday, Christy. May it be your best, strongest, awesomest year yet.
KP, take us home.
I mean, it was Fed week, kind of a big deal. They're the driver of the bus of all liquidity on the entire planet. And I won't rehash all the stuff, but the fact that they have slowed down quantitative tightening is a big deal. It's different than easing. So they're trying not to drain as much capital and liquidity out of the system. And that's good for the flow of money for our economies and for things. Why are they doing that? Well, they're projecting slower GDP growth this year, higher unemployment, and a tick higher on inflation. And so here's my hot take. I'm going to do it on my video on Monday, but you guys get to hear it now. One of my subscription services said, global treasuries and central bank monies are collapsing. France, Germany, UK, Japan are either in a recession or slowing significantly, as is China. So when they all start to cut, the Fed's going to follow. We can't run these economies without money and liquidity. And so this guy even went so far to say we have a deflation problem, which was interesting. So, to be continued as the year goes on. But I thought the Fed meeting was pretty good. They stand at the ready to go either direction. And rates have ticked down. We had a huge lock week this week. So spring purchase season is here. It's officially spring, I think, as of yesterday. Let's go.
I love it. Well, guys, great seeing everybody from all parts of the country once again. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This was The Last Word, a Chrisman commentary weekly show. And I think we're going to have a lot to talk about next Friday. I'm looking forward to being back here again. See you guys.